All right, guys. So as I promised, here is the video updating what is going on here with Steve. So Steve is not going to make the draft. He has to be at a going away party for his daughter and his daughter's future husband. So a couple points on this. Coming up on draft time, Steve really kind of sprung this on us. We don't have time to replace Steve at this point. So it really kind of screwed us over on this. The punishment for this needs to be swift. It needs to be severe so as to not encourage people to do this again. Next time this happens, this punishment is going to be twice as bad. So just remember that. We're not allowing this to happen over and over and over again. We've had members that have been in this league for 25 plus years that have never missed a draft for any reason ever, let alone something as stupid as this. First time in league history, mind you, that anyone has missed the draft for anything less than a death in the family. So, I mean, let's talk about this a couple points. Number one, who has a 3-day going away party for moving 500 miles away? They aren't going to Iraq, although Iraq would be a much nicer place to go than St. Louis, where they're actually going. Which brings me to some other points, Steve. I have some serious concerns here about your future son-in-law. What kind of a man would force his bride to move to St. fucking Louis? Are you kidding me? Who does that? And to boot, he's forcing his father-in-law to miss his fantasy football draft, the most sacred of days. You're missing it now because of this nonsense. Years ago, I don't think you would have gone for this. I really don't. I think last year, Rich beat you down so much that he softened you up and you're just a giant shell of a man at this point. Now let's get down to the actual punishment here. I don't want to harp on how stupid it is to miss the draft for a 3-day going away party for adults, for God's sake. But the actual punishment, there were a few things thrown out. I discussed it with a few members of the league. You should know that there were plenty of votes to just kick you anyway. Just get rid of you and we'll deal with it. And it's fine. We didn't go that way. Another way that was suggested by Tony Sr., who is none too pleased, by the way, at this either, was that if you're not at the draft, you don't get to draft. And if you don't get to draft, you just build your team out of free agency, which is what you pretty much do anyway. So there's that. We didn't go that route. Tony Jr. had a slightly less severe idea to every time your pick comes up to flip a coin and either it lands heads and we take the player from the top of the pre-rankings, or it lands tails and we take from the bottom. All right, not too bad. But what we settled on was that Steve will be picking in what we determined was the worst draft slot possible, which is 6th overall. He will be forced into the Jaguars defense week 1. So his first round pick will be the Jacksonville defense, no matter what. They play the Chiefs week 1, and they're going to get absolutely obliterated. I want to make this clear that this in no way absolves you with your bet with Reese. The way you've ducked out of accepting punishment on a bet that you lost, that you made and you lost, is nothing short of cowardly. But after this last stunt, can't say I'm surprised. So you may think that this is over with this video and the draft coming up, but I assure you, Steve, it is only the beginning. So with that said, I have Tony Sr. here, who has a few words he would like to say to the league.
Yeah, well, Steve, it's okay. I mean, don't worry about it. We all understand family things happen, and it's really important that you do things like this with your family. Oh, wait. No, I don't mean any of that. You don't miss the draft. It's like somebody that's in Fight Club talking about Fight Club. You just don't do it. It's going to be a rough year. It's going to be everybody picking on Steve time, which I'm sure you relish, but it's going to be tough. You're probably going to be in the basement all year, and that's where you belong. So let the draft begin.
Adios.